Welcome, replay viewers, and good morning, everybody. Well, let's go check our purple martin colonies because we are fledging at least one family this morning, if not two, on the morning of the day that the tropical storm is supposed to hit us. So I hope that our winds do not get too high today. We may have gusts to 35, 40 miles an hour later this afternoon and evening. And I hope our martin houses will be okay. Okay, I'm operating with my iPhone 10 in the gimbal stabilizer today. Osmo 3 stabilizer. What we see on the top of this house are the birds gathering there to try to entice the babies out of at least one of the nests, if not two. Last night I did see little fledglings out on some of the porches. So we may have had early morning fledging today. Sometimes it takes all morning to do it. In other words, if there's a group of 5 or 6 babies in one nest, it might take a few hours to get all of them out of the cavities. Let's see what we can see here. I'll zoom in a little bit. There we go. A little more. I don't see any little heads peeking out of the nests. But usually this activity denotes that they're waiting for little ones to come out of the nests. Especially when the bachelor birds collect. Yeah, and we may already have a few nestlings out of this house already. I don't see anything at this house right now. Let's walk over here and get a better view. The most activity is occurring at this particular complex. Now, who's this guy on the end of the perch here? That looks like a little stubby-tailed bird. And yes, it is. That's a fledgling who's come out of one of the nests. It's a brand new baby. I can tell by his stubby tail feathers as compared to the adult birds who have more of a V tail and a longer tail feathers. So this is definitely a little kid that fledged this morning. And the parents are probably trying to entice his brothers and sisters out of a nest. Oh, there was a little feeding exercise. See the perch to the left? See if I can zoom in on that. There's a female with and here comes the male. They're on both sides of a baby. And the female has a moth or an insect in her beak. And she's going to try to feed the little one there. Let's see if he takes the bait. And she's trying to get him to fly off of that perch, make his flight. Once they start flying, then they'll continue flying. Okay, so this is what it's all about. Get the babies out of the nests and then entice them to make a leap of faith for their first flight. Now let's see on the upper left, if I back up a little bit, I'll get a view of the head of the little guy coming out of the nest there. And here's a female just landed on the gourd right in front of us. And she's trying to get babies out of that gourd. But if we go back up to the upper level of the too high compartment, you can see the little dark head peeking out through the hole. So that's probably his brother or sister out on the perch. This is the second one getting ready to come out. Look at that. The parents will try to entice him out of there now. And if they're going to fledge today, I sure hope they do before the storm hits us this afternoon and this evening, before we get these gusty winds. I'm not too concerned about the houses being in danger, because we're not going to get that heavy of winds today, but you know, if we do get gusts to 45, 50, that might possibly pose a problem. Let's see if I can pan down a little bit here, down, tilt down, zoom out. There, there's full width of the area. You can see the cloud cover forming already. It's very humid here right now also. I think the storm is just east of the Delmarva Peninsula right now, the center of the storm. And the forecast I saw about an hour ago said the center of the storm was going to hug the New Jersey coastline, the Atlantic coastline, and actually possibly late this afternoon, this evening, travel right up the New York Harbor and right up the Hudson River. So we'll be about 55, 60 miles east of the center of the storm. I'll just pan side to side here, show you a little bit of the area. Okay, birds, if you're going to make your first flights, let's do it. Don't wait too long today. We have fledged a couple of families already. I've seen the parent groups flying overhead with the babies. But I was concerned today, of course, with the high winds that will be developing this afternoon and this evening. But these birds take any breezes in stride. I mean, after all, they're designed to do that, migrating back and forth to Brazil every year. They are nature's perfect little flying machines. See if I can zoom in on this one a little bit. You can see a male up there on the perch with an insect in its beak, and he's trying to entice a little one out of a nest. If the babies see that food, they may come after it. There he goes. He dropped down to the second level there. So there's probably a little head poking out through the cavity opening there. And I'll pinch all the way down now. That's full width panorama. This is looking basically to the south toward the Atlantic Ocean. And you can see that it's interesting, the cloud layer there out over the bay and the barrier beach. How you have that streak of lighter gray underneath the darker gray. That's about a mile away from us. So these are the outer fringes of Tropical Storm Fay, which is now heading up the east coast. And this afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, should reach metropolitan New York City area. I lowered the metal house last night over here so we don't concern ourselves too much with the high winds for that house. This is my original trio metal house, which I use now for trapping English weaver finches. Keep them away from the martin houses. So we have this house lowered for the storm, and we have all the entrances closed off right now. This was the first martin house we had about 38 years ago. As you can see now, this time of year, there's quite a few boats here in the creek. And I'm sure they'll all be secured to ride out any high tides or gusting winds here. Okay, good people. That's a short tour of our purple martin colony here on Friday morning, the day that we are supposed to get Tropical Storm Fay later on today. Earliest F-named storm since, oh gosh, half a century. I don't know what that means as far as the rest of the hurricane season. We'll find out as time goes by. Let's just pan over here and tilt up a little bit. Take a look at our birds resting on their perches. Again, one or two babies already out of the nests. Parent birds trying to entice others out of nests, and a few what we call bachelor birds, birds that did not breed this season. And their role in the colony is that once the babies come out of these nests, they harass the young ones and try to chase them away from the cavities where they were born so that they don't immediately identify with these for future years. They try to disperse the flock, get them to look for other housing around the area, things like that. But once a set of parents get their 5 or 6 offspring out of a nest, then they will take them for flight training and teach them how to fly, how to catch insects on the fly over the next 7 to 10 days in the general area here. And then nature takes over and the urge to start the migration back to Brazil begins. And small groups of birds will start leaving in a few weeks, heading south again. traveling up to a couple of 100 miles a day heading south, and then they'll all be back in Brazil by late autumn time frame, where they'll spend a few months in the Brazilian summer down there before they get the urge to come back north again next spring for us. Okay, good people, thank you for joining me this morning. I hope the video is fairly stable because I am using my iPhone in the Osmo 3-axis gimbal. So take care, everybody.